Hey, I'm super excited to have you here, Jeff. I've been watching your social,
Mhm.
and let me just say, I don't think there's anyone that works harder than you. You're on the go
Yeah.
24/7. Give me an idea of the past month. How many locations across the states have you
Yeah.
been to now?
So I should probably start off by saying I'm actually still in production. There are 2 times of year where we go into tour mode, and that's right now. I just happen to be home. I'm in the office a lot on Mondays, and I've got 2 listing appointments tonight, and I do my listing appointments on Saturdays now during tour. But pretty much every day of the week, minus Mondays, I'm in a different city teaching somewhere. And it's not 52 weeks out of the year. It's usually 7 or 8 weeks right now in the fall. And then it's about 7 or 8 weeks in the spring. We call that tour season. So right now we're doing the Glover U tour, which is 32 cities. We're probably about halfway through. So we've probably done 15 ish, and we still got about 15 more to go.
Incredible. A
Yep.
commitment to a sound schedule. Love
Yep.
to hear that. And I think that's just such an important thing to preface this conversation with, Jeff, is that you're in the trenches.
Yeah.
You're working it. You're running a
Oh,
team.
yeah.
What's your production looking like it's going to round out here to end the year?
Just to give you an idea, so in 2022, our team sold 982 units. This year, we'll do about the same, about 950 to 975, somewhere in that range. So we stayed the same. Our market's down 22, 24%. I tell agents and teams, listen, if you can maintain the same level of production in a down market, and we haven't added any agents year over year. So you'll sometimes have agents that are doubling or tripling their business. And a lot of that has to do with agent count, of course. I respect that and appreciate that. And if you can maintain business in a down market, your previous year's business, and that's a huge win. That's market share. So over the last decade, I personally have averaged over 100 sales per year myself
Wow.
personally. I'm doing a lot more stuff with Glover U today than I've ever done before. So I have to get very efficient with the way I operate my sales business. And of course, today, I'm not going to say that doing 100 deals for me is like doing 100 deals like it was 10 years ago. Because today I go on an appointment, I get a listing contract signed, I come back, I flip it over the fence, and I'm out until it's time to present an offer or something like that. But yeah, that is one difference is I am in it. I know what agents are going through, and I know what teams are dealing with right now.
Yeah. So exceptionally timely. Again, we're super grateful for you taking time out of your busy schedule.
Of
I've
course,
got my colleague Richard from CINC here.
two good reasons to bring me together. So thank you
Yeah,
for all the work that
absolutely.
you guys do for us too.
So, gang, again, I'm Mac from CINC. I'll be attending to the chat, queuing up questions. Jeff has a presentation to go
Yeah,
through.
that's really more of a discussion. Yeah, I put together my thoughts on the things that we're focusing on with our team. And this is my 21st year in the business. I've ran brokerages, I own brokerages, I'm running a team, I'm in production. So I get a lot of what everyone's going through right now. And there's really 5 areas when I sit down with our leadership team, we make sure that we're focusing on these 5 at all times right now. This is how you win in a new market. And I will tell you, like, even when so we do a monthly sales meeting with our team, and our leadership team has a little index card, and they say, okay, we got to make sure we check these 5 boxes for Jeff, meaning, all right, is there something on this? Check. Yep. All right. Is there something on this? Yep. Check. That's how present it is right now with our organization. So I'll cover those. I've got 5 things that I think team owners, broker owners, leaders of teams, or whatever should be focusing on. The first one's mindset. Now, I know you hear mindset and you think, okay, Jeff, like everyone knows, this is Sisu, this is CINC. Like, you got advanced people here. We're not newbies. You don't need to tell us to have a strong mindset. Okay, I might not need to tell you to have a strong mindset. However, one thing that we do have to spend some time on is, and I want you to write this question down. If you're leading a team or leading a brokerage, I want you to ask yourself this question, and I want you to reflect on it for a minute. How often am I spending time helping my agents exercise a strong mindset? How often am I spending time helping my agents exercise a strong mindset? And the reason why I want you to write that question down is because we've all been told we have to have a strong mindset. Like, we know that. Come on, we've been around. And it is your job as a leader. It's my job as a leader to make sure I'm putting practices in place So that way our agents are constantly reminded of the value of having a strong mindset. Because you understand the reason why agents don't really practice having a strong mindset, they don't really know the benefit, right? There's no such thing. You can't have positive production with a negative mindset. It just doesn't happen. So they have to understand the benefits first of having a strong mindset. And number two, you have to give them some tactics. So I'm going to share with you some tactics that you can incorporate yourself personally. And of course, you can absolutely turn around and share with your team. So tactic number one, we have to teach agents to stop watching the news and involving themselves in threads in Facebook groups. We have to stop that. Stop watching the news and reading threads in Facebook groups. It's all negative, right? The reason why people have all this time to chat in these Facebook groups is because they're not selling any real estate. I don't want to learn from the people that are hanging out in Facebook groups. Now, present company excluded, of course, right? I know CINC has a great Facebook group. I know Sisu has a great Facebook group, but you guys don't allow any negativity. Glover U has a Facebook group. The Glover U Inner Circle. We don't allow negativity. So we have to teach them the value in blocking out the negativity. One of them is by teaching them to stop watching the news and reading threads in Facebook groups. Next thing, we need to teach them to start listening to podcasts. Look at this. Your agents are going to be getting in their car, either driving to your office or driving to an appointment at least once a day. So could you encourage them? Could you start a post in your Facebook group, or could you maybe during your next sales meeting say, hey guys, we're going to take Jeff up on this 5 podcasts a week thing. Because when you listen to podcasts, you can control the message. When you listen to podcasts, I know it's going to be a positive message. So watch this. 5 days a week, your agents are getting in their car. They're driving to appointments. They're driving to showings. They're driving to the dry cleaner. They're driving to the grocery store. They're driving to the gym. What I recommend is once a day, they have a favorite podcast. So they have their favorite Monday podcast, their favorite Tuesday podcast, their favorite Thursday podcast, their favorite every day of the week. They have an uplifting, inspirational type of podcast, something they're doing to exercise their brain. Because watch, if you can get them to understand that your brain is like a muscle, no different than your bicep, right? If I tell you that I want to have big biceps, what are you going to tell me to do? You got to do curls every day, Jeff. You got to eat more protein. You got to be like Popeye and eat more spinach, right? You're going to give me an action plan to have a bigger bicep. But if I were to tell you to give that same plan of action or give a recipe to your agents around having a strong mindset, what would you tell them? Everyone on this session should have a prescription to help someone have a strong mindset. So number one, this is part of the prescription, by the way. Stop watching the news and reading threads on Facebook groups. Number two, start listening to podcasts. Okay. Most of you are, or some of you might be familiar with ours. It's called the Live Unreal Podcast by Glover U. Every week, I can guarantee you're getting something positive out of it. It's all uplifting, inspirational. It's all real estate sales and business related. That's number two. And by the way, it doesn't all have to be like mindset related stuff, right? I know some agents in our programs that they call it My Friday Funny. And every Friday they listen to some funny comedian as their podcast. It doesn't have to be all business all the time, but it better be positive or funny. Funny, positive, same thing. Next, we have to teach agents the value of cutting negative people out of their life. We have to teach agents the value of cutting negative people out of their life. Now, I get it. Sometimes it's family. Sometimes it's close friends. There's going to be some scenarios where you just can't do that. It's impossible. But do they truly understand the law of 5? You're the average of the 5 people. Do they truly understand that winners hang with winners? Is there a way that you can help them understand by getting to conferences or going to events and doing things like that will help them with their mindset, which in turn will help them with their production? We got to quit hanging around negative people. And the next thing I wrote down underneath that is we have to help our agents get to conferences. We have to help our agents get to events. Mac, I can't tell you how often I see lead agents, leaders of teams at an event. And, oh, hey, Jeff, so good to see you. Da, da, da. And I'll ask, dude, where's your team? At our events, right? We got an event coming up in January in Phoenix. Hey, did you bring your team? Well, they couldn't make it. So who's here? Just me. So wait a minute. I appreciate and respect that you're here and you're doing something to help your own mindset and your skill level. But why wouldn't you invite your agents to something like this? We have to do a better job of getting our agents bought into this idea that their life is better off when they can get outside of their box and be at events where you're at, of course, and they're surrounded by people who want the same things that they want. Next, we have to teach our agents to not be attached to the outcome. They can't be attached to the outcome. And my response to this, or the things that we say in our sales meeting often, is, guys, past is the past. Have a short memory. You got to have a short memory. You want to win in this business, especially in this new market, you got to practice having a short memory. You can reflect for a moment. You can write out how you might handle it differently next time, but then you got to get over it quickly. Don't be attached to the outcome. Next, we're talking skill number 1, the skill of having a strong mindset. What am I recommending agents do, especially those if they don't like to read? Or, well, watch this. You have agents that like to read, but they don't like to read self-help books because they're boring. So here's what I recommend. Just read 1 to 2 pages a day. All right? Pick a book, Think and Grow Rich, The Power of Positive Thinking. I'm just looking at my bookshelf here. Traction, Rocket Fuel. Pick a book and read just 1 to 2 pages a day. I never said you even had to finish the book. 1 to 2 pages a day. You never know what you could read on that 1 or 2 pages that could change the trajectory of your entire day because of something you read. Next, and this is super important for your mindset and your health, quite frankly, is your agents, you need to teach them the value of breaking a sweat each day. Teach them the value. I'm not saying they have to be a bodybuilder 2 hours a day. Teach them the value of doing bleachers or getting on a treadmill or just doing something healthy. You know, there's a lot of agents, good, bad, right, or wrong. They don't take their health seriously. And I'm not, by the way, I'm not the picture of health by any means. But do they understand how when you're doing good things for yourself, it actually causes you to think differently and feel differently? The better you feel, the more effective you'll be. And so I know you might feel like it's not really my place to tell them they need to lose weight. It's not really, no, but it's your place to help them understand, connect the dots between the way you feel determines your effectiveness level. The better you feel, the more effective you'll be. So if you did something good for your body once a day, even if it was just 15 or 20 minutes, would you feel better afterwards? Of course. I'm not prescribing, hey, Bob, get in here. Man, dude, you need to lose like 20 pounds, man. If you want to be on this team, no, I'm not suggesting that. What I'm suggesting, and by the way, some of you will be like, oh yeah, no, I need to tell Bobby he needs to lose 20 pounds, whatever. I'm not suggesting that. What I'm suggesting is that you connect the dots between feeling good and their effectiveness level. And so what does feeling good include? Of course, there's other things too. Meditating helps people feel good. I'm just saying that I believe if you want to have a strong mindset, you got to do something to help your body, even if it's a little bit, 15, 20 minutes every single day. Watch. If you're doing bleachers, let's just say, it's very hard to have negative thoughts other than, oh my God, when is this going to be over with? You can't be thinking bad things going on in the world or about the market while you're doing bleachers. And at the end of it, you're definitely not going to have those thoughts because you just accomplished a bleacher. So it doesn't matter what your thoughts were. The bottom line is number 1, and I've got 5 of these. As leaders of teams, as leaders of organizations, the value in having a strong mindset. What are you doing to help your agents understand that? What are you doing to make sure they look at mindset the same way that you look at mindset? That's number 1. Number 2. Oh, by the way, one more thing on mindset. And Mac, this isn't like a built-in plug. I'm just thinking this because I'm teaching sessions right now during tour, and I know you'll appreciate this. What is your agent's mindset around knowing their numbers? Seriously. Do you know why most agents don't track their numbers? Do you know why most agents aren't going to be excited about using your Sisu system? Not because Sisu is the best thing since sliced bread. They don't care about that. What they want to know is how understanding my ratios is going to help me. You have to make sure they understand how understanding the ratios is going to help them. And I told an audience today, if you knew your contacts per closing number, if you knew for every 147 contacts you make, you have a closing, and you told me you want to go from 20 deals in 2023 to 30 deals in 2024, that's a 10 unit increase, then we know 10 deals times 147 is 1,400, whatever contacts. Now divided by 250 working days, all you have to do is talk to 7 more people per day, 4 more people per day. I'm just making numbers up. But the point is that the reason why your agents don't track their numbers the way that you want them to, I know you do because you're a smart business person. But the reason why your agents don't is because no one actually took the time to explain to them the benefits of knowing their numbers. And that absolutely needs to be something as team leads. If you want them getting into that, logging into that app every day, as team leads, we have to make sure they know how they're going to benefit when they know their numbers. And you can't just say, well, it's for business planning. It's for business planning purposes. That doesn't do it for me either. Keep in mind, there's 4 different personality styles in the real estate industry: high D, high I, high S, high C. Driver, expressive, amiable, analytical. The number 1 personality style, communication style, I've been doing this 21 years. I've been leading teams and brokerages for 19 of those 21 years. The number 1 communication style in this industry, the high I. I think it's the natural salesperson, the high I. there's a reason why I start off every tour right now, Mac. You'll appreciate this. I do this thing in the beginning. I'll say, all right, where are my high eyes at? Hey, guys. All right, we're going to go through the first 3 sections of the business plan. It's all numbers. Bear with me. It'll all be over in about 20 to 30 minutes. And everyone cracks up and everything, whatever. Why do I do that? Well, because the majority of the people in this industry are high eyes. And tracking and knowing their numbers is like the opposite. It's like a complete opposite of what they were built to do. So if you help me understand how tracking my numbers will actually be a financial gain for me, then I'll be more likely to track them. So make sure in terms of your mindset, you're putting a little time into mindset around knowing your numbers. And I didn't just say that because Sisu was hosting this and Max on. I'm saying that because trust me, I get it. I deal with agents all the time that don't update their Sisu accounts. And we have to go back to, do they understand the benefits to doing so? Okay, number 2. Most important skill, number 2, their sales skills. Not their ability to use ChatGPT, not their AI, level of knowledge on AI, not their video skills in creating reels, their sales skills. Because at the end of the day, consumers, no matter how you get to that table, I don't care if you used an Instagram reel to get to the table, I don't care what you did to get to the table, consumers make a decision on who they're going to hire based on how you make them feel, period. Consumers make a decision on who they're going to hire based on how you make them feel. So how do you make someone feel a certain way? Based on what you say. Everything that comes out of your mouth is a sales skill or lack of. And so sales skills, when I say that, I know I lose a lot of when I'm 39 years old, so I lose a lot of my 20-somethings. And being at 39, Mac, I have an advantage. Like, I'm doing this for 21 years. I get how the old timers think, but I also know how the 20, 30-somethings think, because I am one. And so sales skills you don't need to think of it's like 1990s cheesy sales lines, right? Here's what I mean by sales skills, all right? I call these the modern day sales skills of real estate if you want to write these down. Skill number 1, ready? Asking great questions in a methodical order. It's not this sounding good. It's not this gift of gab. Actually, sales skill number 1, I got 3 of them. I'm going to share with you. Write these down. Sales skills is asking great questions in a methodical order. That's it. It's not cheesy. I'm hopeful that you're going to take these and share these with your team, because if you want to see better results from your team, you need to teach them how to be better salespeople. If you were to take the trip to Detroit, if you were to ask in the last decade, if I look at all of our competitors, we've been like number 1 or number 2 in the state 9 out of the last 10 years of all brands, of all brokerages. If you were to ask our competitors, all right, what makes Jeff and his team different? Our competitors would all say he actually makes them learn how to sell. If you were to walk into one of Jeff's offices at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday, you'd hear all this loud cheering and yelling going on in the back room. And then you'd walk back towards the bathroom where their back conference room is, and you'd hear all this yelling and screaming would get even louder. What are they doing? You know what we're doing? We're chanting our scripts, because we're going to be the best damn trained salespeople in the industry. So number 1 is asking great questions in a methodical order. Number 2 is actively listening to their answers. Now, I know I got a lot of savvy, good producers on. You're like, Jeff, I can't. You want me to tell my salespeople they need to be better listeners? Hello. How do you help someone understand they're not a good listener? Here's how. Okay. And you, by the way, everyone on this webinar, regardless of the size of your team or who you're in charge of leading, could probably use a little bit more help here. Watch. Has there been a time in the last 90 days where you met someone for the first time? You shook their hand. You looked them in the eye. You introduced yourself. They introduced themselves back to you, and you forgot their name within 5 seconds. Has that ever happened to you? It's happened to all of us. Why does that happen? Well, because when they're introducing themselves to us, we're thinking about what we're going to say next. So we actually have to teach our salespeople the value of actively listening. What does it mean to actively listen? That's number 2, actively listen to their answers. I'm going to give you the 3rd tip, which is going to help you with number 2. The 3rd tip is going 3 deep. Just write that down. Going 3 deep. So what does that mean? What going 3 deep means is this. Going 3 deep into the questions that are on the script. We all have scripts, right? All of ours are available at gloveru.com, by the way. If you want to download them, do whatever you want with them. I don't care whose script you use. Here's what I can tell you. If you just follow the script, you're already off to a good start, because you're asking great questions in methodical order. However, if you want to be better than the next guy, then I'm going to want you to do number 3, which is going 3 deep. So let's just say, for instance, I don't care whose script it is, almost everyone's script on it has somewhere it says, where are you moving to? So watch. The script says, where are you moving to? The next question on the script is usually, how soon would you like to be there? What do we teach agents? Before you go to how soon, after you ask, where are you moving to? Ask the question, what takes you there? Second question, how soon do you have to be there? What's important about meeting that deadline? What happens if you don't meet that deadline? I'm trying to go 2 to 3 questions deep within every question of the script before I go on to the next one. What's going to happen is I'm going to display that I'm actively listening, number one. Number two, I'm going to build a higher level of rapport because I'm asking questions that they haven't heard yet. They've all heard these other scripts from somebody else. So don't get complicated with it. Share those 3 things with your agents, asking great questions in methodical order, actually and actively listening to their answers, and going 3 deep back. All right. Number 3 skill to win in this new market. Ready? Presentation skills. And I'm not talking your listing appointment, your buyer appointment. You'll see what I mean in a second. Presentation skills. Watch this scenario for a second. For those that were around, okay, I'm just going to give a scenario. In 2010, if you went on a listing appointment, after you left their house, what did the neighbors do? They didn't have Zillow reviews. They couldn't find your Facebook because it wasn't public yet. Or maybe you were on it, but your profile was private. They really couldn't do anything. Maybe they could Google your company. That was about it. But what did most of them do in 2010 after you left their home? They asked their neighbors, their friends, their relatives, hey, have you heard of this company? Oh, I see their signs in our neighborhood all the time. All right, good. We felt good about that appointment. Just wanted to confirm. Fast forward just 5 years to 2015. Now they've got some things at their fingertips. Now they can see your reviews on Zillow. Now they can see your Google, reviews online. But they're still not used to using that stuff before we get there. The key here is they do it after we leave. They go research you and then they let you know. Of course, if you got the listing on the spot, then it didn't matter. Today, 2023, consumers are Facebooking, Instagramming, TikToking, you name it, before you show up. So when I'm talking to agents today about their presentation skills, I have them do what I call a social media audit, meaning Google your name, put the words real estate after it, and show me what a consumer is going to see. Because today, consumers are making their mind up before you get there. You see the difference? Before it was after you left. Today, it's before you get there. So what is your presentation online? What is your presentation on social media? Now, when you show up to deliver your listing appointment, now they're just looking for confirmation. Now they're just like, yeah, we feel pretty comfortable with everything we saw on your social media, Jeff, or we feel pretty comfortable about everything we read online and your reviews, and we just wanted to make sure. That's the difference. 10 years ago, you had a chance to go out. It didn't matter what was out there. They were going to listen to what you have to say, and then they're going to make a decision. Today, their decision's halfway made up when you show up. So what does your presence look like, not just online, but on social media? And are people able to find you easily? Just on that topic as it relates to presentation, since I'll tie the two together, how this does tie back to listing appointments and buyer appointments. People want to know not just that you use social media as a tool to help them sell their house. They want to know specifically. If I have a plan of action, okay, and let's just say on my plan of action, I have one little paragraph that talks about social media, okay, then they're going to think that social media is an afterthought to us. You can't just say, oh, yeah, no, we do social media. Give me specifically, because consumers know about Reels. They watch them. Consumers know about going live on Facebook to show off their home. So don't just say, as it relates to presentation, that you're going to be promoting it on social media. Give me specifics. Build your plan of action. Build a page in your plan of action that explains everything, especially your savvy consumers. They want that. That's number 3. Number 4, to win in the new market, you have to be teaching your agents how to use social media properly. And I know most of you on here know how to use social media, but are you turning around and teaching them? Like, for instance, little things like this. Okay. This is the technique I've been teaching audiences for a year and a half or so now. Classic. And it's a good one. It's actually a good sales meeting example. Hamburger, not hot dog. Hamburger, good. Hot dog, bad. Unless it's a Detroit Coney dog. Hamburger, good. Hot dog, bad. Why? Because when you take photos like this, it's automatically formatted for Instagram and Facebook. When you take them like this, you go into horizontal mode. But yet I see agents all the time posting selfies and whatever like this. Up and down, you pinch the screen, you zoom out. Are you teaching the agents in your team the things that you know? You're going to conferences or you're coming to our events and you're learning this stuff. Are you turning around and teaching it? What else? Everyone in this session should encourage your agents to be active in your very important client group. If you haven't created a very important client group yet, you're missing out on an opportunity. Every single past client, every single buyer, every single seller, every single sphere of influence member of you and your team should do everything you can to drive traffic to this group. And then you encourage, on top of what you're doing, you encourage your agents to be active in there. Why would you want your agents to be active in there? Because then their past clients are constantly seeing them. You can make the most amazing and creative post. If no one's going to see it, what does it matter? So everyone should be creating a very important client Facebook group for your team or your brokerage. You should do everything you can to get them there. How do I get more people in it? Every time we send them an email, you got to be in the Facebook. Right. If you're going to do a client event, let's just say you don't get to take advantage of the client event until you're in the Facebook group. How do I say that without saying that? Oh, it's simple. Next time you have a client event, they have to register in the Facebook group. Make sure you're joining the ABC Real Estate Team. Very important client group. Here's the link to join. In other words, you start doing giveaways in your Facebook group and they click to join the group. When we send a text message out to our database, join the Facebook group. When we send an email, join the Facebook group. Everyone should be operating their past clients in Sphere. It's just another way to stay in front of them. It's actually like the modern day Popeye. When you go all these stupid holidays, next week's National Margarita Day. All right, next week I'm going to go live. Hey guys, it's National Margarita Day. I'm giving away a bottle of your favorite tequila. Comment below with your favorite tequila. We're going to do a drawing right here next week this time. Create engagement for people to see when they have their notifications on and you own the group, they're going to get notified. A couple other things on social media, especially things I want you working with your agents on. Right now, they need to be sharing their buyer success stories. If you want to generate more sphere of influence and past client or anybody, buyers from social media, they got to be sharing their success stories. They got to be talking about how in some markets, they're able to save $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 off the asking price. You better be shouting from the rooftop anytime you get concessions to buy down an interest rate. Hey guys, I understand. Who wants to buy it at an 8% interest rate right now? I wouldn't want to buy it at an interest rate. Meet Bobby and Sue, and they just closed on a home at 6%. How'd they do that? But we got the seller to buy down their rate, and we could do the same for you. Make sure you're sharing as many of your buyer success stories. I know it's customary in this industry where we share seller success stories. Make sure you're having them share every time they have a success story from a buyer. Share it right now because everyone thinks it's a bad time to buy because the rates are so high. At what interest rate would you be comfortable buying at? 6%. What if we can get the seller to buy down your rate? So make sure you're sharing your buyer success stories. Encourage your agents to do that. By the way, there's 3 areas that buyers are having success right now in terms of success stories. Okay, number one is if you win in a multiple offer situation, because obviously I know there's still some multiple offer situations depending on the price point. So that's a win. Share that. If you're able to get money off, concessions, closing costs, off the sales price, whatever. And if you're able to help them secure a home quickly, because inventory levels are still low, it's still taking a lot of buyers a long time to secure a house. So anytime you're able to help them secure a home in 30 days or less, you should be shouting that from the rooftop. Anytime you're able to save them money, you should be shouting that from the rooftop. Anytime you win in a multiple offer situation, you or your agents should be shouting that from the rooftop. All right, by the way, you can get we have like a 9-page social media guide. Mac, I don't know if you want to throw this in the chat, but if they go to gloveru.com/social, that was just like 2 things, but we have an entire book on things agents should be doing. Take that, print it, share it with your agents, and make sure they're all on the same page. That's gloveru.com/social. All right. And that's number 4. Number 5, they have to be building a database alongside of you. It can't just be, now it can be your team's database, that's fine, but they should be building a database alongside of you. Because thanks to social media, you have to think of Instagram, personal Facebook. You have to think of those at like your followers on Instagram. Those are people in your database. Your friends on Facebook, those are people in your database. And so I'm going to share with you in this market right now, agents really should be focused on building their database, not just you, your agents. So there's a 3-part formula on that. I'll share that with you now. If you want to get more business from a database, ready? Number 1, you have to constantly be thinking about who to add to it. Now, we have like daily reminders set up. So a lot of our agents, I don't know if I have one here, a lot of our agents use a daily planner. So we built a planner for real estate agents, and it's online. If you go to gloveru.com, it's in the shop. Anyways, at the bottom of each day of the week, there's a little box. We call it the accountability box, and it has contacts made, appointments set. By the way, all of our agents are on a 7:30 a.m. accountability call every morning with us, Monday through Friday. These are the same questions we ask them on that accountability call as it is in that gray box at the bottom of that document. Contacts made, number 1. Number 2 is appointments set. Number 3 is appointments gone on. Number 4, contract signed. And number 5, the 5th thing that we ask every day is add to database. Contacts made, appointments set, appointments gone on, contract signed, and number 5 is add to database. Every morning, Monday through Friday, our agents report that on our 7:30 call. By the way, you can make the add to database a custom field in Sisu, if I'm not mistaken, right, Mac?
Mm-hmm.
So your agents can actually track how many people they've added to their database. So if I want to get more business from my database, then I need to make sure they understand the 8% rule, and then they'll be more likely to want to add people. If you're not familiar with the 8% rule, it used to be called the golden rule of 10%. And that rule used to say 10% of your database will transact or refer business to you. Today, it's down to 8%. Why is that? Today, it's down to 8% because we have so many outside forces that's testing the loyalty of people in our database to us as real estate agents. They can click around on Zillow, and next thing you know, they're seeing a house with somebody else. Oh, we didn't want to bother you. We didn't know it was going to turn into anything. They can click around, a few buttons. Next thing you know, someone's at their kitchen table making them an offer on their house. So because of technology advances, the loyalty from consumers from our database is starting to do this. It went from 10 to 8%, at least in our experience. That's what we've seen. By the way, if you ever want to know how well am I doing as it relates to database business, just take your total database, your size. Now, I'm not counting the stuff that you put in CINC, your CRM. I'm not counting your internet leads and all of that. I'm referring specifically to past clients and sphere of influence. Take that number. It might be 500. For your agents, it might only be a few hundred at a time. That's fine. Your number might be 1,000, depending on how long you've been doing it. Take that number, times it by 8. Okay, so if you have 1,000 people in your database, times it by 8%, that means there's 80 transactions available annually from the database. How you doing? Are you above that? Are you below that? Most agents, by the way, I find hover around 3 to 4% return on that number. In other words, if you've got 1,000 people in your database, most agents I find do 30 to 40 deals a year from their database. If you've got room to grow there, if you're like, I just did the test, I got 500 people in my database, 8% of 500 is 40, and I did 24 units from my database this year. By the way, do this activity with every single one of your agents. When we have one-on-ones with them and we go through the business plan, we're going to ask them right now, how many people in your sphere of influence past clients? 187. Okay, good. Write that number down. Times it by 8%. Okay, what does that work out to? Let's just say the number's 12. Did you do more or less deals than that 12 from your database? I did less. Okay, we've got room for improvement. No problem. We're going to get there. So number 1 is adding people to it and make sure they understand the 8% database rule. Number 2, if you want to build a database the right way, you have to add value to the people that are already there. So number 1, I have to consciously be thinking about who I can add. And number 2 is I have to add value to the people that are already there. So if your idea of adding value is, for instance, this past weekend, if on Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, you sent an email reminder to your client database to set the clocks back, it's probably time for a database audit. You're doing things that you think are adding value and they're not. Now, of course, if you were in Arizona or wherever, they don't practice that. That's a different story. But the point is you think you're adding value and you're doing things that you've been doing for years. It's probably time for a database audit. What does that mean? What that means is you go through each month, January, February, March, April, and you ask yourself, would I get value from that? Look at what you sent out and you ask yourself, would I get value from that? If you wouldn't get value from it, why are you sending it out? So I'm not here to teach you to change your whole database value proposition. If you're doing the 36 touch and 48 this and whatever, I'm not suggesting you make any changes to that. All I am suggesting is that you take a look at everything you're doing each month and make sure one of those things you're doing is actually adding value. One thing in January, one thing in February, one thing in March, one thing in April. Do something to add value each month. I know a handful of you will probably be at our summit in Phoenix this January. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, if you go to gloverview.com/summit, you're going to see not only do we bring a bunch of people together to list and sell more homes, but one of the things that we're going to be doing this summit is helping agents update their value proposition, teaching them on what consumers want now versus what they used to want. And it has changed. So I said there's 3 ways you can grow a business from your database. Number 1, add people to it. Number 2, add value to the people that are already there. And number 3 is do 1 and 2 simultaneously. Seriously, do 1 and 2 simultaneously. And I'm saying that because most of you are good at one or the other. Here's what I find. I'll meet agent A, and they're really good at making contacts, calling leads. They're dialing in their CINC every single day, or they're using the CINC pond or whatever. And then I'll ask them, all right, what are you doing to add value to that group? Not really much. I'm just talking to as many people as I can, and I'm building the database as big as I can. That's my focus right now. Okay? And then I meet an agent over here. They're really good at loving on their database. They know their kids' names, the pie giveaways, all this other stuff. They're just loving on their database. But they're not willing to make the calls and the dials and generate the leads like this person over here. You got to figure out a way in 2024, if you want to win and take market share, you got to figure out a way to merge the two. You got to figure out a way to teach your agents, guys, it's not just about loving on the database, it's adding to it. Or the other way around. It's just not about adding people, you got to love on them too. And so one way you can do that is by completing a database audit. You should do it, your agent should do it, and take a look at what you're doing each month. Is it truly adding value? And then are you creating a culture where adding one person a day is part of the culture? Like for instance, if your agents add one person per day to the database, I don't care where it comes from an open house, come from the grocery store, come from wherever, come from a lead that comes through CINC or whatever. If they take that and add it to the database, one person per day, that's 250 people added in a calendar year. That's 1,000 people in 4 years added to the database. You will absolutely see an increase in business, especially because of the 8% rule, especially if you're adding value. So when I think of the 5 skills needed to win in the new market, just to recap, we have mindset, skills, and work to do with our team on mindset. We've got actual sales skills. What are you doing to teach your agents how to sell? We've got presentation skills. What does the presentation look like? Not just in the listing appointment, the buyer consult, but online and on social media. We have social media and video tactics for today. Are you actually teaching them the latest stuff? And then building a database and winning with your database in 2024. So when I look at the agents that are winning at a high level right now, the things that they're doing, I'll tell you, these are the things that we're focusing on. And these are the things that we're seeing many agents have a lot of success with around the country. So, Mac, I'll turn it back over to you. If you want to open up the floor for some questions or whatever we do after this point, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, this is awesome, Jeff. Incredible value. I have some questions. There are a few lined up. The first one is, what is that distinction point of, let's say, one of your agents is working within CINC to work through their lead list, their pond. What qualifies them moving from CINC to their database of Sphere past clients? Is it an appointment set, met? Curious your take on that.
Yeah, great questions. Obviously, an appointment set would move them from just the pond to a higher quality at this point. But what I'm referring to, so we created a separate label and we called it Exchange. So one great thing about using CINC is you can create your own label. So we created one called Exchange. And the best analogy that I can give, and that's a really good question, Mac, because a lot of us grew up following the teachings of those that have gone before us. And there's one, and I know you've got a lot of different companies represented. I'm not going to talk good or bad of any one particular company, but there's one belief, and you've heard this before, you're either a met or a have not met. You're either a met or a have not met. We believe there's a group in the middle because today, because of social media, you actually know people pretty well, but you may not have met them. So we created a separate group and we call that exchanges. And why do we use the term exchange? Because those are people that you've had good exchanges with, whether online, over the phone, in person, through social media. You had good back and forth exchanges with them. We label them as an exchange, and Mac, we treat them, they're like number 2. So you have past clients and Sphere exchanges. Go right underneath. I'll give you
Yeah.
another example of people you have met. So let's just say an agent does an open house. So our agents do an open house. They have 10 groups through. I can promise you this, all 10 of those people are going to get set up on a search utilizing CINC, and they're going to be on a drip campaign. However, at least one of those 10, you're going to hit it off with, right? Your kids go to the same school. Maybe you went to the same school, the same people, they live down the street, whatever. At somebody, every day, you're going to find someone. If you're in sales, you should be setting a goal to hit it off with people. That's part of sales. You're going to find someone that you hit it off with. Yeah, they came through our open house and they knew so, and they're related to so-and-so. That person you're going to treat a little bit differently. That's what we would call an exchange. They might get set up on the same drip campaign as everybody else, but I'm going to add a tag or add a label of exchange. And so what that means is when I have my next big client event, if it looks like I'm going to have room for 100 more people, I'm going to go into CINC. I'm going to click on the exchanges. I'm going to sort by that label, and I'm going to invite all my exchanges to that. And next thing, I'm building a relationship with not just a buyer lead. I'm building a relationship with someone who I already had a couple good exchanges with. So they're going to remember me, and they're more likely to show up to my event or respond, send me a referral, whatever. Okay. The last kind of thing I'll say about that is I've had people ask, all right, I understand that. Could you give me like one more example? Okay. So if you host an open house, you have 10 people come through, right? 1 out of 10 you hit it off with. The other 9 out of 10, you probably won't even remember they came through. But if you ran into that 1 out of 10 at a local pub on St. Patrick's Day, let's just say, would you buy them a beer? Would you buy them a green beer? If the answer to that question is yes, they absolutely should be labeled as an exchange because you had enough of a conversation to where you felt like, yeah, I think it makes sense to buy that person a drink. Add them to that group and treat that group on a higher level than just a standard internet lead or buyer lead that you met at an open house. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that example because I think a lot of agents too often look at lead gen with Sync or otherwise as very transactional. When truly it's a way to expand your sphere and create
Yeah.
new relationships. And what's that path to creating rapport? To
Yeah.
your point, when you run into them in person, you're actually developing a stronger
Yeah.
relationship, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not just flipping a switch, they become a client. You have to work hard, earn it. A lot of the things you talked about,
Yeah.
providing value.
Yeah.
And that was another one of my questions. I don't imagine you want to give the farm away here, but maybe one specific example of one of your agents or you for that monthly goal of providing value into your database. What have you seen as being super successful in that
Yeah.
regard?
Yeah. So that's one of the things like we taught today. I had a tour stop actually in Detroit. And for anyone that gets a chance, we put on 32 in the spring, 32 in the fall. We got a lot more coming up. And the only reason why I'm bringing it up is because I actually go through, Mac, at our tour stops, our October, November, and December value prop, what we're
Oh,
doing
nice.
to add value to our database. So for instance, in October, we did fall family photos. In November, we have a thing called database days, where the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday before Thanksgiving, we call everyone in our database. We wish them a happy Thanksgiving. We thank them for their continued referrals. In December, we send out a little card instead of like the classic holiday greeting card with a little fridge magnet calendar. We send out a little card that has a $1 scratch off ticket. It says, wishing you a lot of luck this holiday season. Yeah, it's $2-3 to send that out because obviously postage and the ticket, but it stands out. It's something that's different than the classic. You don't want to do what everyone else has been doing. So you have to think of ways to stand out.
Yeah.
That's
And 2 to 3 grand investments. I've seen plenty of agents and team leaders blow cash in a lot worse ways.
A $1 lottery ticket, heck, it could be worth a lot more than that.
Yeah, you never know. With those odds, you just never know. Good stuff. And then a couple questions from the audience, Jeff. VT here asked, do you have a specific calendar that you look at for events? Or maybe the better question would be any events. Obviously, the summit is huge, and I would encourage y'all. We'll be there. I know Richard and CINC will be there as well. Anything else outside of your immediate sphere that you might recommend as being a great event for someone to consider attending?
What I recommend is, unless you're with an independent, most real estate organizations today have at least one event per year.
Yeah.
All right. Get to one of those. My recommendation is this. Okay. Let me take it from the top. Number one, You don't want to be a conference junkie. Every town has one of those. You don't want to be one of those. And that is the agent. They go to more conferences than the homes they actually sell. Don't be one of those. But you also want to spend time around people who are looking to accomplish the same things that you are looking to accomplish. So, for instance, obviously, I know CINC puts an event on. I know Sisu puts an event on. If you're doing business with these people, those are really the events you should get to, because you're going to meet people that are using their systems at a high level, right? Same thing with Glover U. Our summit in Phoenix, you're going to have every single real estate company represented there. So I wouldn't say there's one particular calendar out there for the industry.
Yeah.
But what I would say is no less than 4 per year. This has been my personal formula. No less than 4 per year, 1 per quarter. Get out of your environment, get out of your zone, get out of your box, and be around people who are at where you want to be. No less than 4 a year, no more than 6, right? That goes back to, I don't want you going more to 6 a year, because we need to be in the field with our people. If your people constantly see you going to conferences, they're going to wonder why you're not bringing them along. They're going to feel like they're back at home doing all the work for you. You got to limit it a little bit. No less than 4, no more than 6. So here's my recommendation. All right. You go to one that your company puts on. All right. If you're doing business with Sisu, which if you're on, you probably are, you go to theirs. Okay. Because you're going to be around people that are obviously value understanding the business. Your CRM probably does one. In this case, CINC, it puts on a great event. And Glover U. Now, I know I'm biased, but I would get to at least one Glover U event and decide from there whether it's something you want to continue going to. And you're going to meet people at our event from obviously all over, all different brokerages. But here's what you don't want to do, Mac. You don't want to go to only your companies. Okay. A lot of agents do that, and that's not smart, because what happens is, and this isn't against any one company. All right. They all do this. When I say your company, I'm talking about your real estate company, your franchise, whatever. Their events are first and foremost designed to keep you excited about being with the company. First and foremost, that's their number one goal. They want you to be excited about being affiliated with whatever company. They all want you to be excited about being with their firm. Goal number 1 is to retain you. Goal number 2 is to help you succeed. The flaw in that is when you come to our events, I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't care which company you're with. I just want to see you win. And so that's why I think it's a mistake for agents to only go to their company's events, because while you're going to get a lot of value in being at those, you're going to get more value by exposing yourself and getting out of your box to other organizations.
Yeah, that's such great advice. Having been in the real estate software space for a while now, and having had the opportunity to go to all of these different franchise brand events, each has unique value, but it's so important to get out and see what else is out there. And I was thinking in my head, like, how would I answer that? But you nailed it. That's great.
Yep.
And Jeff, someone asked what the name of your podcast was called once again.
Yeah, it's called Live Unreal with Glover U. LIVE space UNREAL with Glover U. And if you're wondering, what does Live Unreal mean? If you get a chance to listen to our podcast, you'll figure it out. But we have a formula where we teach agents how to live a life so amazing it's almost unbelievable. And I know that sounds like airy fairy pie in the sky, but there's an actual formula for doing that. And if you get a chance to come to our Phoenix event, which is gloveru.com/summit, you'll see exactly what that is, because we open the summit with the Live Unreal formula.
Love it. Awesome. And let's see, the only other, so a couple more things, and then I'll let you get out of here. I know you got a packed calendar, Jeff, and I appreciate you bearing with me.
Of course.
Best CRM you recommend? Putting you on the spot here.
I'll tell you this. We've used CINC. It's the only one that we've used. You could argue you don't have experience with other CRM, so you're not qualified to answer that. The one that works is really the one that you should use, the one that you're going to use. For us, it's CINC, CINC. It used to be called Commissions Inc. And that works at a very high level for us. Trust me, every 3 years, we go through and make sure we're working with the best. And our operations team, they hate me for this, but every 3 years, I say, okay, go shopping. Give me pros and cons of all of them. And at the end of the day, they always come back and say, yep, CINC still wins. Yep, it's not worth it switching. And by the way, there's always going to be some things they're going to say, this company does do this and CINC does not, but CINC does this, right? There's always going to be something that one does and the other doesn't. It just has always worked out for us that it still makes sense to stick with CINC. And so we've been using them now for, gosh, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years, maybe more.
And fantastic partner of ours. Richard has been a great counterpart to what I do in my role here at CC. couldn't say enough good things about the team, and haven't had the opportunity to meet a lot of them there at their event. So definitely check them out if you haven't already. On that note, Richard, I think you mentioned some offers that you might have for Glover U, Sisu clients as well. I don't know if you want to hop on the mic real quick or share in chat, whatever your preference is. While you're thinking through that and putting that together, Richard, Jeff, where can people connect with you on an ongoing basis? Obviously, gloveru.com, huge resources there. We've been pointing to it. I've already pulled up the social media guide.
Yeah, I would say social media wise, if you want, you can follow me at Realtor Jeff Glover. I manage my personal social media. So you can connect with me one-on-one through there. That's at Realtor Jeff Glover. Also, you can always follow at Glover U Coaching. That's where we're sharing a lot of our stuff as it relates to helping real estate agents succeed. So I would start there. And if you do that, you're gonna see enough of what we're doing. If you're not willing to commit to coming to Phoenix, I understand. You just met me. I get that. You should at least go to gloveru.com/tour so you can see what cities we have left on the tour. And who knows, we might have one right around the corner from you. And those stops are like $39. It's super cheap, and we share a ton of value at those.
Love it. Love it. Richard, it looks like you hopped on. You dropped something in the chat as well.
Yeah, Jeff, this was fantastic. I was just going to say, really appreciate you as a longtime client on the CINC side, and some of the conversations we've had internally lately. I was talking to somebody randomly at a kid's birthday party this weekend, and there were some non-real estate people going, "Oh, the sky's falling within AR." And the one person there who'd been in the business for 20 plus years, built teams before, goes, "I provide value, right?
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Like, I help people. I save money. We buy homes, right? I'm not worried in the next 5-10 years." So to me, it was just a really great experience. The people who are selling homes are working on the mindset, like you're talking. They're not getting distracted by it.
Yeah, and it's been around. It's such a cliche. You got to have a strong mindset. But I'm telling you, more than ever, you got to exercise your mind.
Yeah.
And then I was going to say the second thing that jumped out is we had another CINC client in South Carolina who was going through just their lead flow recently this week. And so we drive a lot of leads in the front end, Google and Facebook. But we were going back through, and it was something like almost 50% of the leads they had got of people like reconverting on their website were like database, like 5+ year old lead, right? So it's a combination of stuff, but all the database and sphere stuff you're talking about, you don't understand the value of that 5-10 years from now. It's crazy.
It's just, we have a saying at Glover U and within our business that says the source is the source. A lot of agents complain. I'm just going to use Zillow, for instance. "Oh, Zillow's too expensive. I'd never buy another Zillow lead." Yeah, if you look at the cost versus your return in a 12-month period, you're right. It probably is actually a negative ROI, or at best case scenario, break even. But if you get a chance to take a look at our listings and sales boards, and every few months I'll drop them into the Glover U Inner Circle Facebook group, that's the number one question I get. "Jeff, what does it mean when it says Zillow-PC? What does it mean when it says Zillow-PC referral?" That's because a lead we spent X amount on 7 years ago, 3 years ago, they're still referring us. So if you want to figure out your true ROI on lead spend, same thing that if you're going to figure out what your lead spend is going to be with CINC, here's what we do. We take every commission and we times it by 3, because that's how many transactions are available for the lifetime of that client. And we don't ever have to pay for that lead again. We only paid for it once. And then it just becomes a challenge of getting the other 3 or getting at least 2 more from them.
It's great. So yeah, I tell you, we've got a guaranteed sales program out there. And then also I know there's some Glover U and Sisu clients here. We've got some special promotions. We value the partnership there. And just, Jeff, really appreciate your time. Mac, really appreciate you organizing.
Yeah, no, these are good people to be in business with. A lot of speakers and trainers are paid to say good things about vendors. The difference here is I'm in the trenches with you guys, and I use these guys. We use them, right? I'm not just paid to say that. We use them in our business, and I couldn't see us functioning our business without them.
Oh, appreciate it. That's awesome, Jeff. Richard, thanks for your help here. Jeff, thanks again for your time, man.